But first, the on-again, off-again relationship between Sussan Ley and David Littleproud is on again. After 17 days apart, the two leaders reunited this afternoon to announce they were still very, very much in love, or at least willing to be seen together in daylight. Despite splitting up twice in the past 9 months, they assured supporters that they would never, ever break up again. Here's Nationals leader David Littleproud. Sorry, that was Anthony Albanese addressing voters in Western Sydney. Here's David Littleproud.
I wouldn't be standing here today if I didn't trust Sussan Ley.
For her part, Sussan Ley was equally gushing.
Yes, 100%. I trust David and I value and respect the National Party.
Yes, but whether she trusts Angus Taylor, who it's rumoured might launch a challenge this week, well, that's much harder to say.
I am very confident of the overwhelming support of my party room. They elected me 9 months ago to lead. I said then I was up for the job.
Now, I'll get into the details of today's announcement with Nationals MP and former leader Michael McCormack shortly, but here's what stood out to me this afternoon as I watched Sussan Ley and David Littleproud renew their wedding vows. Again, David Littleproud emphasised over and over how the messy public breakup and shotgun reconciliation demonstrated the two leaders' maturity.
That's the maturity and leadership that I thank Sussan for. That's the maturity and strength that our two parties have been able to show. And the level of maturity we've been able to show to get to this level is important. I think that shows the maturity of where we both are.
Now, I may be old-fashioned, but I'm not sure 3 weeks of tantrums, ultimatums, media leaks and theatrical sulking quite qualifies as a masterclass in emotional adulthood. Naturally, the public is left asking the obvious question, well, what on earth was the past 3 weeks for? If the pair have such a mature relationship, could they not have worked out their differences in private, like mature people? Here's the Macpherson angle. Littleproud and Ley know this whole debacle has made them look childish. So Littleproud now insists it's actually made them look mature. In much the same way Chris Bowen insists renewable energy is cheap. Say it often enough and eventually someone somewhere will nod politely. For her part, Sussan Ley was keen to stress that new processes had been put in place to ensure coalition stability.
Out of this process, we are stronger in strengthening those processes. Processes.
I'm not sure that's going to fill a lot of people with confidence. Sussan Ley is all about process when the country's crying out for leadership. Process is what you talk about when you don't want to talk about direction. She's still working, after all, on her immigration principles, not policy, principles. The actual policy, well, that'll require a whole other process. Here's the third message that was repeated ad nauseum this afternoon.
Stronger.
Stronger together? Well, maybe. Whether the Nationals and Liberals are better together depends entirely on what they stand for. If the Liberals are determined to be Labor light, then it's hard to see how the Nationals are better off with the Liberals. Maybe they are better together in the same way some couples stay together because, well, breaking up again would just be too embarrassing.